Everyone good? Good? All right, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Bryan Jones. I'm the Vice President of South Carolina Shrimpers Association. We have behind me Rocky Magwood, the President of the South Carolina Shrimpers Association, as well as our attorney, Gedney Howe, the fourth, who's going to give you a lot of information that I think a lot of you are here for, which is the amendment of our suit against restaurants that we have found or that was shared with us that they are violating several laws, most of all the ability to be transparent and honest with their consumers. And here is Gedney now. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here. If you'll bear with me, I do have some notes written down. I'm a little new to being on television. I want to tell everybody that today my legal team filed an amended complaint in our ongoing Shrimpgate litigation to reflect significant new evidence that has come into our possession via subpoena. In reviewing that evidence, I think perhaps the most disappointing thing that we found was almost every restaurant on Shem Creek failed the testing. It's a hard thing to stand there next to the statue of Wayne Magwood and look out over the creek and look at the remaining shrimp boats and sit there and know that every restaurant you'll see, and not every restaurant, the restaurants that were tested did not pass. They are not supporting the very shrimp boats that are parked outside of their restaurant. I want to thank the community. We've received a lot of support from the community, messages, comments from other sectors of the fishing industry, from local farmers and other people engaged in the agricultural community. And it's become clear to me that this is not an isolated problem. What we've got here, the issue at the core of our case, is not a one-off issue. It is symptomatic of a larger problem that's going on in the community. It is a problem that is multifaceted, and we are witnessing a issue of misrepresentation, of outsourcing, and of disregard for the people who have fed our community for generations. Finally, we do anticipate some fairly robust litigation to occur with the named defendants. But I do remain hopeful that some of the named defendants are going to want to do the right thing, that they're going to choose a different path, that they're not going to want to fight, that people are going to choose a path of accountability, cooperation, and integrity. Our aim is and always has been to protect and uphold the South Carolina shrimping industry and uphold the principle that consumers deserve honesty in advertising, because honesty is not a luxury, it is the law. To the named defendants who are going to be in the days and weeks coming up receiving service of these complaints, I want to tell you, we're here to work towards transparency and work towards fairness, and we're ready to work with anybody who wants to work with us. My door is open. We are happy to discuss and work towards solving this problem. Thank you. Rocky, you got anything to say?
I just want to say that, I'm very grateful that all of y'all are here, and it's about time for all this to come out. And we do have the list, and y'all will see here shortly. And it's going to surprise you that, it's a shame that all the shrimp boats that are on Shem Creek, and there is ways to get fresh seafood, and this is a shame that we have to find out this way, and the public has been getting lied to for so long. And thank y'all again, and please support your local fishermen. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you guys for your time and attention. One of the things I wanted to point out is the reason we're here in front of the pineapple statue is it does stand as a symbol of Charleston's hospitality and welcoming. And, when we want to welcome our family, our friends, and our cherished visitors, we want to make sure they're getting the genuine thing, right? We want to make sure that they're getting, in this case, wild caught South Carolina shrimp, particularly when they go to a restaurant and they're being told, it's local. That's the most pressing fact. But we want to make sure that there's honesty, transparency, and integrity. At the end of the day, this isn't about, one restaurant versus another. We want to make sure that everybody that's out there supporting our industry, or they're saying that they're buying and serving local wild caught shrimp, that they're actually doing that. Because there's a couple of folks that are affected by this. It's obviously the shrimpers like myself, Rocky, and the entire fleet throughout South Carolina that are affected, and when they're undercut by restaurants not buying our shrimp and then purchasing, imported shrimp and selling it as local. But it's also the restaurants that are doing the right thing, that are profitable, and they're competing for the same diners, the same folks coming to their restaurants, and they're missing out on potential revenue because there's other restaurants out there claiming that they're selling local wild-caught shrimp. And then finally, and most importantly, it's the consumer, right? It's the folks that are spending their hard-earned money to come down here to get the genuine flavor of the Low Country, and they're getting cheated, plain and simple. And to our attorney's point, you know, we're more than willing and able and happy to work with folks that want to do the right thing. And we look forward to discussing this and having an ongoing dialogue. But at the end of the day, again, it's about truth, transparency, and accountability. And with that, we'll take any questions that you all might have.
Can you talk a little bit about the testing that was done and how that was done?
So the testing that was done by Seed Consulting. They were hired by the Southern Shrimp Alliance. Did I get that one right?
Yes.
We were not involved in the testing. We didn't commission the testing. And we do not have all of the notes, et cetera, related to the testing. We're working on getting those. For right now, we've received an unredacted list of the restaurants that were tested and the ultimate results. And we received that through a subpoena to the Southern Shrimp Alliance. And they were gracious enough to work with us and make the process pretty easy.
Given the 40 restaurants total and you had that full list, what methods did you use to determine which are named? Maybe what did you qualify as false advertising alleged in the suit?
Certainly. So for now, we are relying on the group that did the testing, Seed Consulting. They tested to see if the shrimp passed whatever their proprietary test is to test, I believe, if it's an Atlantic versus a Pacific shrimp. And they also did an investigation, or did a cursory investigation as to whether the restaurant they were at was actively advertising local shrimp in any manner. In addition to relying upon their report, we've done our own internal investigations, and that is ongoing. And we are, again, the case is going to continue to develop, but for right now, primarily relying on the results of the Seed Consulting test.
What do you hope the outcomes are after kind of going through this litigation and lawsuit with some of the restaurants that were named?
I think that the goal here primarily is to protect and support the shrimping industry. Those are my clients, and these are nice guys. And as I said last time, they just want to work for a living. And any restaurant can sell whatever they want, but they have to be honest about it. We don't have a problem necessarily with people selling imported shrimp. We do have a problem with them selling imported shrimp that they say are local. That is an issue. So we want to get that hashed out with these restaurants, and as much as we want to get square, we also want to collaborate and work towards a solution that is the best for everyone.
So the names of the restaurants that are being released, are there perhaps, is there any information available like as far as the addresses go? Like if there's a restaurant that has multiple locations, were all of the locations tested or just this one?
No. It was, they did not test an entire restaurant group. My understanding per the press release from Seed Consulting is it was largely randomized, though they do appear to have focused on Shrimpgate.
Can you clarify the definition of local shrimp? Is it Atlantic hot shrimp?
So under the South Carolina law, the South Carolina Unfair Trade Practices Act says that you cannot advertise a product as being from South Carolina if it is not from South Carolina. My understanding of the Seed Consulting testing at this time is that its focus is primarily on testing whether or not a shrimp is a Vaname shrimp, which is native to the Pacific Ocean. Therefore, if it's a Pacific native shrimp, it couldn't be from South Carolina. And so that is my understanding of their testing process. The term local is one that will either be defined by the law or the specific definition will reveal itself as we continue through the litigation and the parties come to agree what it means.
So shrimp caught off of New Jersey coast could be considered local shrimp?
No, not under the South Carolina statute, but I do not believe the Seed Consulting testing test for that. It tests to see whether it's a Pacific Ocean shrimp.
Maybe Rocky or Bryan could speak to this.
Absolutely.
I know Rocky is the fifth generation. Can you talk a little bit about the shrimping industry these days? What y'all are struggling with? What y'all face? What y'all
Well,
need to
we
look at?
face so many different things, but this is a big piece of our problem is, we get people that think that they're eating our shrimp. And when you go places, a lot of places they go to eat, they think they're eating local shrimp and they're not. And we cannot compete against the prices of the imported prices whenever we don't have, we can hold the prices of shrimp to close enough to the restaurant for them to buy them from us. But if nobody reaches out to buy them from us, this is a problem. We've tied our boats up in the last couple of years because people are buying imports instead of buying ours. And people think they're eating our shrimp and supporting us, but we're having to stop working because of these imported shrimp coming into the country. And this is one of the facts of it. It's, you know, if we could sell to these restaurants and make a very fair bid to them to buy our shrimp, all our fishermen could work all the time instead of being tied up. And yes, we can supply enough for these restaurants.
And this is a low country position. I mean, this is what people come to the low country for. They come to these restaurants, they think this is what they're getting.
Yeah, and they think that they're eating fresh local seafood, and that's a problem, you know. And if we don't have fresh local shrimp at the time and they can't get them, yeah, I don't mind them selling imported shrimp at all. But don't say you're selling something that it's not. You know, I mean, that's a problem. And, you know, reach out to us and see what we can do to help get you some fresh shrimp. You know, we've done all kind of things. We're trying to reach out to every restaurant. There's no reason for them to be doing what they're doing right now. We've done so much in the last 2 years, just me and Bryan, with the association trying to get fresh shrimp to people that say there's different reasons why they're not selling fresh shrimp. And we've came and done what we think is fair, and we're not getting the results.
Yeah, if I might add, you know, one of the things that has come to light from all of this activity is there have been a lot of restaurants who have reached out to us that want to do the right thing, and we want to promote them too. And, you know, one question I would have for some of the other restaurants, particularly if it becomes an availability issue, is why choose imported instead of getting shrimp from Georgia or North Carolina or the Gulf when it's readily available? Yes, there's a lot of pressures from what we call inventory overhang, where imported shrimp producers are bringing more shrimp into the United States than what the consumer consumes in a year. So we're competing for a lot of storage space, which a lot of times is why we have to tie up, because we can't move our shrimp quick enough. We can get out there. We can provide shrimp, and it's, you know, almost like salt in the wound when, you know, there's tons of shrimp out there and we're tied up at the dock. But meanwhile, there's restaurants that are, you know, out there selling imported shrimp. But I do want to make the emphasis and the point that there are a lot of good restaurants out there too. You know, we're working actively, you know, or diligently to do our best to verify information on our website. You know, we have a list of restaurants on there. We know there's more that are trying to get on there. We just need to make sure that we verify the suppliers and that it is authentic. And because, you know, without having a country of origin labeling law, there's really not much enforcement right now is what we're seeking. But just to verify or allow consumers to make those informed, intentional decisions about where they eat. They may want to buy imported shrimp, you know, so let them have that option. You know, maybe they have an issue with, you know, the way we harvest seafood, which I would contend is very sustainable. But, you know, give the consumers the right to know. And I think that's a big part of this case, is making sure that restaurants, if they're holding themselves out to serving local wild-caught shrimp, they're actually doing that and not the converse.
Can you also talk about the public health safety concerns that also go in terms of this?
Yeah, thank you for bringing. Oh, sorry. Thank you for bringing that up. You know, in this press conference, I wanted to really just touch on the initially on the case before us, but there are a lot of things that are symptomatic of the imported shrimp crisis, and one of them is the health issues. Right. Very recently, there was a study conducted by the University of Georgia that found that there was a very resistant strain of shrimp and shellfish and imported products that were resistant to, I believe it's colostin. It is a antibiotic of last resort, typically used for folks with hospital-generated pneumonia, meningitis, and other very strong bacterial infections. And in these imported shrimp, they're resistant to that. And as we consume that, our bodies then, you know, have the potential of being resistant to that bacteria. AMR is or antimicrobial resistance is the fastest growing, most pressing health crisis in the world right now. And it's something that's very concerning, and it's something that we should all take notice. And, you know, when you think about, you know, the shrimp we catch it right off our waters. It comes, you know, from trawl to table. It's caught here, not brought here. And when you think about how shrimp right now is grown in aquaculture, a lot of it is used suspect practices that are banned, such as nitrofurands, chloramphenicals, other antibiotics, and veterinary residues. But unfortunately, there's not a strong enforcement mechanism as far as inspection. It's well documented that the inspection rate of imported shrimp is between 1% and 2%. And according to Senator Kennedy, when he testified before, or when he had Secretary Gina Raimondo, the former Commerce Secretary, testifying before her, he mentioned that there was less than 1% inspected. Of that, a third was found to be rejected. But unfortunately, there's not laws in place to destroy that rejected shrimp. Right? That can, in theory, it can go right back onto the ship, and if it comes into San Francisco, it can go right next to, go down to Long Beach, and then it has a 99% chance of entering our food stream. So there's absolutely a public health concern about consuming imported shrimp. But when it comes to the facts of the case, we're more concerned right now in this moment about restaurants holding themselves out as selling our stuff. And I've heard Rocky mention it. One of the things that we'd hate to have happen is somebody gets sick eating our, or believing they're eating our shrimp when they have consumed imported shrimp unknowingly. And there's a lot of folks out there that want to help us, want to support our industry, and spend their money supporting us, and they're being defrauded. And I think that's a travesty, and it needs to be addressed.
You said that there was a few reasons that people were going to this imported shrimp rather than, that you suspected they were going to the imported shrimp rather than the local shrimp. What do you kind of suspect is that main turn into the import, I guess, buying imported stuff?
I would say it's an intentional choice when you choose to purchase imported shrimp rather than local wild caught. A lot of it's probably ease and convenience, or the bottom line. We, as Rocky mentioned, we are competitive. There are a lot of shrimp providers here that will compete on price. Maybe it's not the same. Maybe there's a little premium, as there should be, because I believe our product is of higher quality. But I think it really comes down to ease and convenience from potentially a big box restaurant distributor, or it's something that's convenient for them. Anything else you guys would add?
I have to ask them.
Yeah.
What's your ultimate goal in filing this and putting the amendment with those names in there? Is it, do you want the restaurants to course correct? Do you want compensation? What's the ultimate goal of, naming these restaurants?
Sure.
I'll let him answer, but
Ultimate goal is, it is a combination of those issues. We want everybody to course correct. We hope to, in an ideal world, help create an environment where this problem is self-regulating and prevent it from continuing into the future. My clients have been harmed by these practices in the past, and unless something is done, they will continue to be harmed by it. So we want to put a stop to this, whether that be through a component of monetary damages, whether it be through injunctive relief, or whether it be purely through collaboration with the restaurants, where restaurants start working to hold each other accountable, or through legislative efforts. We identified an opportunity to try and solve this problem through the judicial process, and that's what we've instituted, and that's our plan for now. And we'll adjust as things progress, just as we have so far.
Seed Consulting has, run these tests in, I think, 7 of the 8 other states. And you guys are the only ones that have so far taken legal action. What does that say about the South Carolina Shippers Association?
It is, the legal action that we have taken is not a common one. It's not an issue of bringing a case against someone for negligence. It is a complex legal action brought in the federal court involving both state and federal law. The federal law that we brought the case under is technically a trademark law. It's an obscure legal issue, and I believe that we've been contacted by some other states interested in what our progress is, but it's not the road well traveled, and I think that is the easiest explanation. Is it's not an easy thing to do, and most people aren't that interested.
Do we have a timeline?
So we've filed the amended complaint today. It's going to take us a pretty good amount of time, given the number of defendants, to serve everyone. After being served, most of them will generally have 30 days to respond. And so once the final person is served, 30 days before there's any next action, we'd be perfectly open to any restaurants that are served or are named contacting us prior to an answer being filed to talk about resolution. We're here to try and solve a problem. We're not just out to get everybody.
local or fresh or both? That might be a little in the weeds.
Again,
But what their qualifies.
so Seed's analysis of the issue is their own. They have not yet shared that with us. We've requested it. In my office's investigation, we have found a lot of examples, and I think one thing that's going to be discussed frequently when these restaurants begin to contact us is the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, the federal regulations regarding this are extremely, extremely broad. They're very sweeping. Again, as we discussed before, this concept of a net impression, and that is material, be it in your restaurant, on your menu, wherever, that might just give somebody in your restaurant the impression that it's local, is enough under the federal law. And again, we're not out to get anybody, we're out to raise awareness and try to solve the problem. And we're ready to have those conversations.
Can you clarify, like, so there's the 25 that are these restaurants that have explicitly said we serve local wild caught shrimp, that they made that claim, or is the net impression that you
Again, the Seed Consulting results that we've been provided do not specify every time which of the specific rules may have been violated. They indicate that that facility had a violation. We've checked on everyone that we've named, and we found things that we believe violate either state or federal law, and those are things that we'll be discussing with the defendants as discovery progresses.
And if I might add, one of the things that in Seed Consulting's release, it referred to those 25 as outright fraudulent as well. So they made that determination. That certainly helped. I did want to mention one thing that Emily had asked about as far as what it says to the entire industry about different states. I will say that we are very collaborative. One of the great things that's come out of this imported shrimp crisis is our ability to communicate and have a coalition building. So we do work with state associations from Texas all the way to North Carolina. Most recently we were in North Carolina, as some of you know, helping defend their livelihood when there was a late filed amendment to ban trawling in about 90% of their waters. So that's just indicative of the multiple fronts of this war on domestic shrimpers, whether it's imported shrimp crisis or certain interest groups trying to shut us down, or the health aspects that people are a potential the risk of being exposed to. So I just wanted to point out that there are a lot of great shrimp associations out there that are made up of shrimpers, just like Rocky and myself. We're volunteers. We're out there working, fighting to just be able to go to work, to harvest shrimp and bring it home for everyone to enjoy.
Have the named restaurants been notified yet?
No, today we filed the new summons and complaint in federal court, and per the rules, our next step will be to serve everybody.
And is that happening? Like, when is that happening?
We'll probably be starting tomorrow. We have to, we've had to do the research to track down and identify each restaurant's corporate entity, and then identify their registered agents so that we can serve process upon their registered agent. And that's probably going to start tomorrow, and that'll take some time. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
I brought a couple copies of the amended complaint that Maggie has if anybody wants one.
All right, thank you all very much for your time. We
Thank you.
appreciate it, and we'll be in touch with any news progresses on the case.